Hi folks, and welcome to another Odd Artworks. I'm Ewan Moore, illustrator and artist, and I'm continuing my own artistic interpretations of D&D monsters. This week I'm looking at one of my all-time favourite monsters and one of the icons of the Planescape setting, the Modrons. Okay, Modrons have been in the game since first edition, and they began as strange, simple, blocky shapes, which is fitting because they're from a place of pure order. I'm not going to go into the specifics of the D&D multiverse here, but they ain't from around here, put it that way. They really came into their own during 2nd edition, and in particular within the Planescape setting, helped in no small part by Tony DiTerlizzi's fantastic art. They became a major theme in the setting. One such adventure is based around these guys going on a grand march every so many centuries to observe and catalogue everything across all planes of existence, and inadvertently causing chaos in their wake. There are a few different kinds of Modrons. The one I'm going to have a crack at is the Quadron. Kind of the box-shaped guy. Their description reads, astute combatants. They serve as artillery and field officers in the regiments of Modron armies. I love DiTerlizzi's interpretation of these guys, and this video is less of a redesign and more of an homage to an artist's work that has inspired me for many years. Alright, let's give it a go. Okay, so to begin with, I didn't think this would be too complicated. A Modron is essentially it's a box with a face. It's sort of made of metal and the face is kind of organic. And I did a few little tests about seeing how far I could move things around. And, you know, I kind of landed on this idea that, you know, if this guy is like a commanding officer in an army, I thought I'd give him a twirly moustache to go with the kind of more suit-like thing. I mean, these guys are geeks, basically. You know, they're trying to get the order of things. As always with the drawing, I'm just trying to solve as many problems as I can. Sort of a rough approximation of lighting. I'm not worried about it being neat. My main goal is the painting for this. So yeah, I was very happy with the drawing once I'd sort of narrowed it down. I liked the design. I think it's still kept with the description, which was my main goal. So having transferred it to the board, I began colouring the whole thing in burnt sienna as always, just to get my values right. I knew very much from the outset I wanted to make this guy as warm as possible. So that's why I used burnt sienna and not blue when you think of how I've done metal in the past. I underpainted the sky with kind of a yellow ochre to create, even though I knew I was doing a blue sky, it would create kind of the warmth and would hopefully harmonise all my colours. This is a good lesson for people who are thinking about getting into painting or, you know, struggle with it, is go in with a clear idea about what your colour palette's going to be. You'll see through this I changed my mind several times, and if I'd been just a little bit clearer from the outset, I think my time would have been a lot easier, and I probably could have done this painting in half the time. I still managed to do it in a single session. I think the whole painting from drawing to finish was about 3.5 hours. But very enjoyable. I really enjoyed painting this guy, and it was such a pleasure to sort of look at all Tony DiTerlizzi's wonderful designs. He is probably my favourite artist who's worked in fantasy in general, and definitely when I was a student many years ago, and all through my practice, he's always been a big inspiration to my work. I love his quirkiness and his application of media. He's got a lovely kind of rough quality to his work. Not so much these days, his work's a lot more polished, but certainly the stuff he did in Planescape, I love it. It's just got that rawness to it that I just love. And actually it was kind of rediscovering DiTerlizzi's work after quite a long time without looking at it that sort of got me into doing these sort of videos. So I've been an editorial illustrator amongst other things, but mostly editorial for probably about 15 years. And a couple of years ago I decided, you know, I wasn't really enjoying it as much as I used to. So I wanted to do work that I enjoyed, so I sort of set about working in more fantastical fields, and it was Tony DiTerlizzi's book that made me, his art book, I think it's called Realms, if I remember rightly, that kind of made me think, yeah, you know, this is what I love this storytelling and all of that. So since a couple of years ago, I've sort of started doing more fantastical stuff, and I've done a few jobs there, but I'm still working on it. So back to the painting, this is kind of what I'm talking about. I didn't really like how cold all that metal was. My plan was to have quite a grey metal and then kind of gold or brass kind of linings for his twirly moustache and the medals and things like that. But I felt like the grey was too cold, so I thought, well, let's make it more of a copper. So I did a wash of burnt sienna, and then I felt he just looked a bit rusty. So you'll see later on I go over with another wash of sort of yellow ochre and sort of work it back that way. But you know, this is the nature of kind of working traditionally, and you sort of, I don't know, I think I prefer this to digital work in that you're incorporating your thought process and maybe your mistakes a little bit to create something. I actually find it quite hard to look at my work right after I've done it. I have to leave it for a while and not look at it before I can really make a fair opinion of it. So if this was a real job, I would probably consider this a first draft of the character where I was working things out. So if I was commissioned to do this as an illustration, this would be probably for me, and then I'd probably do another painting where I'd be a bit clearer about my choice of colours and the rest of it. I don't think I improved on Ditalizzi's design at all, but then I didn't really think I was going to. I just wanted to try and do it in my own way. I was quite pleased with the swirly moustache and the medals. I feel like, you know, in keeping with the description in the monster manual of these guys being generals and astute, so he's got kind of a shirt and collar. I feel like I answered that part of it. I think one of the things that bothers me about some of the illustrations in the current monster manual is that when the characters or the monsters are described of having certain equipment, for a bow, for example, well, you've then got to think about quivers and arrows, and there's a lot of illustrations that sort of get around this bit of artistic license. So I've sort of challenged myself to think about how different monsters would carry this kind of equipment. And for the Modron, I was quite clear that I wanted the sort of quiver of arrows to be attached to him, you know, like it's part of his design. Anyway, I'll let you enjoy the rest of the process for now. Just coming to the end of this painting now, just putting on the highlights and sort of some stuff out. It was a bit of a journey, but I think I got there in the end. So what do you think? What do you think of my interpretation of the Modron? Let me know in the comments. If you like this video, give it a like and subscribe to the channel. I put out a new video every Thursday. And let me know what other monsters you want to see in the comments. I've got a list of a few things, but if there's anything you think just really grinds your gears, no pun intended with the Modron, let me know. let me know in the comments below and I will give it a crack. What started these videos was the fact that I didn't like the interpretation of the goblin in the monster manual, so if there's anything you feel strongly about, let me know and I'll have a crack at it. Alright folks, it's been a pleasure and I will see you next time. Take it easy.